What's going on, everybody? This is Nick from House of Paint 203, bringing you part 3 of the Yeenoghu series. In parts 1 and 2, we based him and brought him up to some midtones, gave him a couple of washes. And in part 3, we are going to finish him up with some final highlights, some little special effects, and we're going to assemble him. So, still a lot of stuff left to do. Let's jump right in. As always, want to give a special shout out to friend of the show, Dominic Marriott, owner and founder of Credit UK, all the way across the pond in the UK. Dominic is a crafter of dice trays, dice towers, dice vaults, dice boxes, you name it, Dominic makes it. You should check out his stuff so that you can up your game at your gaming table today. Also, while you're here, be sure to smite like and slam subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the latest content that I am putting out there in my quest to paint the manual. Of course, this week we are dealing with Yeenoghu, who is a character from the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus module. He is a demon lord, referred to as the Gnoll Lord, and I'm counting him as a gnoll since he is technically, well, I don't know if he is technically a gnoll, but he is in the likeness of a gnoll, so I'm counting him as such. So we are going to get going with him here. And so to start off with Yeenoghu here, I'm going to start with his flesh. I'm going to be giving him a highlight on his flesh here. So I'm going to be taking a pure khaki. And similar to the technique that I used on the unicorn, I'm going to be kind of doing some like individual strands here. want to see the... Taking that bone white khaki mixture that I had in the palette earlier and just kind of popping it in a certain area. And the same mid-tone that I used on his bandages, actually. Guess we'll see how that looks when it dries. I do now want to kind of go in on his nose because his nose is black. Touch up the tongue a little as well. Set him off to the side for now. All right, next order of business here, I'm going to go over his ropes a little bit with some Yeenoghu brown. And I'm really using very, very light paint. It's not exactly a dry brush, but my brush is not saturated here. Really all I'm trying to do is graze these upper areas to try to bring out these ropes and stitches that he's wearing. Kind of like that. That was easy, but I'm worried these down here might be a little bit more difficult since there's more space in between them, so. Add. Actually, for this one, it might be just easier for me to continue with this manual application there. we can achieve the same effect with a small highlight on his leathers here. So we just try that. A little bit. Don't want to miss. For his bandages, I'm just going to use a little bone white, and I'm going to use a dry brush on here. And I'm going to run right over the raised areas. Get a nice edge to these. Bandages there. Trying to bring out the different folds. And they're not supposed to be like pure white. These are, if you think about where he is, I mean, he's hanging out in Avernus down there, so. Just about works. Let's check and see how the arm would look. I think all I have to do here is get the arm kind of a graze with for the veins. Alright, so we are close. I think I just want to touch up his teeth. So what I have here is some skeleton bone, which is just a little darker than an off-white. So I'm going to try to just kind of touch up his fangs. I want to be very gentle with this. Just touching up underneath the tongue right there. Go into his eyes as well. Get that with a little orange ochre. Go. Also, so I think I mentioned this last video, but the thumb kind of came detached. So I'm gonna paint over that. gonna try to make it look like a nub. And I screwed up his hand here because that just looks awful, so I'm actually gonna go back in with some Minotaur hide here, glaze it. Or I might just have to paint over it. See how that looks when it dries. I think also what I'll do is give him a little silver dry brush on his larger plates. The same thing with the butcher. Let's give that a little extra shine. Get the edges there. I think I could go ahead and really glue that. Final highlight for his stone base. Give it that final little pop. Really get those edges here. First base I've ever painted where I've went purely with dry brushing, but that definitely gives it a nice little, some nice little accents there. So happy with that, keeping it simple. I do want to get in with some of this skeleton bone and grab his claws. Okay, I've decided to forego the wash on his claws, and instead I'm going to just glue him into onto his base. So I'm placing my glue in the divots of his base, and I'm going to just hold him here and move on to his tail. And his tail is really the area that I'm gonna try to see what I can use as a highlight. So I'm gonna try a little dungeon stone on his tail. Dungeon stone is a bit of a darker gray. I believe this is the mixture that I used on the giant ape. So I gave the giant ape a base coat of pure black, and then kind of gave him some dry brushes, and I think Dungeon Stone was the dry brush that I used on him. Getting most of the paint off. And just looking to catch the raised areas. not looking for anything too in your face, although I think I could go a little bit lighter than this. And get away with it. Let me check out Stonewall Gray. Yeah, Stonewall Gray is definitely more noticeable. So see how that looks when it dries. Tail looks good, so I think I'm going to use the same technique on his mane. I'm going to start off with kind of an undercoat of Dungeon Stone. Just being very careful and really just kind of touching the upper areas of his mane here. I can actually go in with a little bit of rust effect. Lightly apply it. To his armor, kind of give it that little aged, or aging, worn look. Just very lightly. Spread that effect throughout the model. And then I'm going to take a little dried blood effect, and I am going to place that around his bandages here. Make them look pretty gross. I'm especially gonna be, since I lost his thumb, I'm gonna make this particularly nasty looking. Like almost like it's that wound is bleeding through. I'm next gonna give his tongue a bit of an edge highlight using some rosy flesh. This is gonna be very minimal. Blue gray. bandage highlights on his robes. Kind of grazing the upper areas there. Just like that. Do I dare try for the stone gray highlight on the upper reaches of his mane? Oof, this is a ballsy move. Let's see. Just like up near the top, maybe. That's really all. That I'm willing to do. Gotta touch up his little chin beard here. I went ahead earlier and just kind of glued his arm to his hand. And now just gonna be gluing his arm onto his main body. I'm gonna get some dried blood on the other side of his flail here. I was about to say balls. Let's see. I can bring that dry brush. I can bring his ankle hair. Now that is pretty sweet. I think he's probably glued enough that I can get some dried blood on this side of the flail. All right, there he is, Yeenoghu, and part 3 is completed. We have brought Yeenoghu to life. Again, a Gale Force 9 model. Lots of fun. You could find Yeenoghu in the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus module. Had a ton of fun painting this model. I will include paints used during the video in the comments. I have not been doing that, and I do apologize. I've been getting a lot of really helpful feedback in that arena, so I will start doing that more often, starting with this series, as I'm sure you've seen from the first couple of parts of this video. So a lot of fun here. The Gnoll Lord, Yeenoghu. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms is immediately following the video, as is information on how to follow Dominic Marriott of Credit UK. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.